Welcome back, baseball fans, to this Eliminating the Kansas City Royals video. They've had back-to-back clunker seasons, which is, I would not have predicted it. I know they're not quite in the years where they would win the American League West, because Oakland's still controlling the American League West, but the thing is, Royals don't play in the American League West. They play in the newly constituted Midwest with the Twins, Brewers, and White Sox, and it's just not working out. A few years ago, we floated the idea they can compete for a World Series before George Brett arrives. Well, that's been dashed. The biggest culprit's the pitching staff for this team. It's just really fallen on hard times and bad luck. Really dismal. They were 13-22 a year ago. Now they're 11-21. So no progress in the one loss. The batting average improved by 30 points, but the ERA went a run worse from 360 to 460. Just terrible. That's awful in this league. Let's start with the good news of the hitting. Lou Piniella had a fine year, got snubbed for the All-Star game, led the club with 46 hits, 359 average, and a 401 on base. And nice. Al Callens did okay in a part-time role, 339. Can't argue with that. Amos Otis was just okay. Hitting 271 with just 2 homer, 12 RBI, and just 3 stolen bases. That's okay, but he's your superstar. You need more out of him. Mayberry continues to slug, but the batting average is down to 248. Pat Kelly put in the leadoff spot because of on base, and he gave you on base, 376 on base, 6 stolen bases. Because Patek hit 242 and only a 282 on base, so it was justified to leave him out of the leadoff spot for most of the year. He did collect 13 stolen bases. Your rookie, George Brett, hit just 223 and did not leave the yard this year with his 74 card. He only had a couple homers anyway. The power comes in a few years. He needs a few more years to get that power. But he's still, still he's on his way. And matter of fact, they might just bump him up to his 75 card next year where he hits 300. So there's that. Now, the pitching staff, the only all-star for this club was their closer, Doug Bird, 9 saves, 276 ERA. Nice little walk-K ratio there, 3 walks, 17 strikeouts. Roger Nelson did get the 5-1 wins, but his stats weren't particularly good, and we expect better out of that 190 ERA card. And frankly, everything else is just really bad. They brought in Marty Patton in a trade. He was bad, and he somehow lost 7 games, which is still remarkable to do in this format that I play. They brought in Larry Gura. He's not ready yet, folks. He needs to season himself with the Cubs and then the Yankees before he arrives in Kansas City, but we got a very green Larry Gura, and he's getting lit up. And that is about all I can say nicely about this Royal team. Let's now take a look at their card set here. We're going to pull out their 71 cards, leaving 12, the future 12 for next year. And again, the future should be bright. I mean, they're a young team, but they're getting better and better. So that's the good news. And we count these out, we should have 12 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then 8 of the 71 cards are here. And these are the guys we have to see where the future is. So this is the 12 that will come back next year, presently. And they're gonna nice little balanced split of 7 hitters and 5 pitchers, meaning that they don't have an imbalance. Let's see where we can put guys. All right, so Bob Oliver was an Angel. He's a solid corner guy, can play the outfield, hit 20 home runs. Nice little card here. He had moved on to the Angels by then, but they have held on to him, have the Royals. Doesn't really have a position because you got John Mayberry clogging up first base. Kirkpatrick's going to run it back with another very versatile, left-handed hitting catcher with power, can play some first base. Then you got Mayberry, of course. Brett's coming back, of course, but this is what I was saying. That's his only homer chance, and you can upgrade him to 75, Brett. The other infielders, Rojas and Patek, have to get new cards. And in the outfield, I guess you have Pinella in left. He's not being traded to the Yankees quite yet. He's still a 72 Royal here. There's Otis again and Cowens. Pitching staff. Yeah, you've got 2 starters here. And Marty Patton, this is a really outstanding card, but boy, it got knocked around terribly. He was still with the Red Sox here in 72. But the Royals wanted to get him there sooner than later. And here's the great Nelson card. That's starter 9, which is amazing they gave him a starter 9. Of course, dominates righties. Just kind of okay. He's fine against lefties, but translating this has been somewhat difficult for the Royals. And then you got Gurry, you see. You really got to get out of this card if you can. I don't know if they can. I don't think he has another good card till 76, which is not next year. Next year is 72 through 5, and you see the struggles there. Here, this guy's been a bright spot, this Horacio Pena. He was actually an Oakland pitcher. Anytime you can take an Oakland A pitcher away, prevents that dynasty from getting deeper. And their all-star closer, Doug Bird. Well, probably should just stay in that role. No reason to go to a long relief yet or anything. Just stay there while you're still producing for this Royal team. So let's now, we saw the 12. Let's go see what they do with those 8 guys. As this Royal team needs to start building that playoff roster. Let's see how they get that accomplished. All right, baseball fans, we're going to take a look at these 8 players who are leaving from 71. We want to keep 4, put 2 on waivers, put 2 on retires, might make some trades to facilitate that. Beginning with Dwayne Josephson, the backup catcher, platooning with Kirkpatrick. He was with the White Sox and the Red Sox, actually. Longtime White Sox catcher, played a little bit for Boston. So next year, he does okay next year, but do they make his card is the question in 72. So we got to go check the Strat-O-Matic roster sheet to see if this card exists in a limited playing time, because you could put him on waivers if he participates. Boston, though, catchers in 72, looks like Fisk and Montgomery here. But they have Josephson, so they did have a third catcher. So he qualifies for waivers. But let's just put him on waivers for now. We have to be more optimistic and think we can find better Royals than that. If they can't find better Royals than that, we can keep him. But right now, let's put him on waivers. Again, the designation for the columns. The blue column, you're keeping him. You're paying him $10,000. Tokens, units, dollars, whatever you want to call it. Middle column, $100 to go on waivers. And your retire guy, he gets $1. So, next up is Pat Kelly. Now, Pat Kelly also was with the White Sox and went to the Royals. Interesting. And we want this one. There's been a few of these guys. So there he is with a White Sox hat on. Does he have a Royal hat on? An Oriole and a White Sox hat. But here we have, he was a Twin. He played all over this division. How about that? Twins, Royals, White Sox, Orioles, Indians. So this was the card we just played. It was a nice card, a nice 291, 394. And then the next 4 years, he's okay. He's property of the White Sox all 4 years. They could trade for him. I don't know if the White Sox really even want him, per se. They got Ken Henderson. They got Carlos May. They've got Walt Williams. They got Buddy Bradford. But anyway, he would be a nice trade chip. Or they can keep him. In any event, the man's career will continue. And he has speed. His defense isn't great. His own base percentage is. He was an all-star in 73 for the White Sox. Right now, the Royals are going to be bullish on Pat Kelly and keep him. And I'm just going to put, in the little comment area, trade. What can you get for him in a trade? So he's not really beholden to the Royals. Speaking of beholden to the Royals, our next player is Fred Patek. Some really strange stats here for this guy who came up with the Pirates, was taken off that roster in the expansion draft. You see a Pirate in 68 and 69, 70. Actually he wasn't on the expansion Royals. He didn't get there until this year. and he bloomed as soon as he arrived. He got 6 MVP. This is rather amazing. You can be 6th in MVP voting when you hit .267 and play shortstop. 49 stolen bases is nice, 11 triples is nice, but the on base percentage is only .323. And you saw I've been playing this card for many years now, and it's never produced so much. You saw in the beginning of this video, his batting average. So now here we are. He's an all-star in 72 with the Royals the entire time. An all-star with a .212 batting average. He gets .234. I don't know what to say, but he'll be kept because he's a Royal, but there really isn't anything special to choose from there. Yeah. Freddie Patek's on the Royals. He's got good speed, I guess. Pick him as a AA, and that'll be the deciding. If he isn't a AA, pick him when he is. Next up, Paul Popovich. From 64 to 75, was a Cub and a Pirate. And Dodgers are in there a little bit. Here he is, 71. Did they make a card in 72 to put him on waivers as a Cub? Cub, Popovich, yes. So he qualifies for waivers. Let's just put him on waivers. He's a utility player who doesn't produce a whole lot. One more hitter, and it's Cookie Rojas. This is a shame because of all these Royal hitters I've been mentioning, this guy actually did produce in 71. Long career for Rojas. Cincinnati, Philadelphia, the Cardinals, Royals in 70. Yeah, all-star at second base for the American League. But he had 300. Heck of a nice year he just had in 71. 14th in MVP votes. Somehow trailing his teammate, even though he had 300. My goodness. So we got the next 4 years, and we have some nice performances here. Frank White's not ready to take over second base yet, so yeah, Rojas is coming back. So we have 3 keepers and 2 waivers thus far. Next up, Paul Splittorff. I think this guy's a lifetime Royal. A long career, and believe it or not, a lifetime Royal. I don't know if I got him in the Ring of Honor or not. Probably did. I'm sure Kansas City fans would do that. Pitched a long career, not known for ever being, a top of the 7th in Cy Young in 78. Excuse me, that was his best year. 7th, 3.40 ERA. Innings eater, left-hander. 119, yeah, that was his year. 31 years old, 19 wins. 20 wins in 73. My goodness. So this is the card we just used. Rookie of the Year, 5th, 113 whip. Has a still great whip in 72. And he's not going anywhere, folks. So yeah, there's a reasonable chance that he will run this back the entire decade with Kansas City. There's no reason to move out of Paul Splittorff. And that's 4 keepers. So now you've got 2 more guys that could potentially be trade bait here, or cut, or waived, or retired. Mike Hedlund, I think he's getting up there. 72 will be his last year. And Hedlund, he just started very young in 65 at 18 years old. And then in 72, this card exists, but you might as well let it go. It's not very good, is it? Put them on waivers. You got to have a card for Hedlund in 72 for Kansas City. There he is. So you can get waivers on him. You don't have to bring him back. Well, it's good to see that the Royals are actually passing on some of their own players to suggest they have better ones. And yeah, these names, Splittorff, Rojas, Patek, those 3 at least, they all have a history with Royal success in the 70s. The 4th name is Kelly, which could be a trade target. And our last guy is Rich Hinton, who wasn't really associated with the Royals, but they needed a lefty. So they went out and got this guy, who played this entire decade. He started with the White Sox. I think he went to the Yankees, the Rangers, the Reds. as a southpaw, you often get work. In this particular case, the work's not good until, say, 1978 again, this year. Okay, but we're not anywhere close to 1978. He ends up in the minors and the Mexican League. Do they have a card in 72 in 28 innings? Or should we just retire this guy? I think he's looking like a retirement unless they manage to cobble together a card for his 72 performance with the Yankees and the Rangers. So now we got to find Rich Hinton. Extra player, Yankees or Rangers in 72. Here's the Yankees, here's the Rangers. No Hinton there, no Hinton there. Yankees and Rangers. No Hinton there. No Hinton there. Let's just retire him. Let him figure himself out. Rich Hinton can retire and come out of retirement later in the decade when he figures it out. So this is a pretty easy configuration. Looks like Pat Kelly will be kept now. 4, 3, and 1. All they have to do is trade one of their waivered guys for a retired guy in the offseason to get the proper math. We've done 3 teams. And actually, you have the perfect math you could get for 3 teams. 12, 6, and 6. Divide that by 3 teams is 4, 2, and 2. So that's a good start so far. No work needs to be done. Funny part about it is Florida. They had the 3 retired guys, right? Yeah. So they just retire. They just trade a retiring Roger Repos for a waived. Who do we waive? We waive 2 hitters. We got a shortstop and a right fielder, Martinez and Repos. And you got Josephson and Popovich. So there's Popovich as the shortstop. So you trade Martinez for Popovich. These 2 teams do that, and you got perfect math. No reason to create any more value in a trade when you're talking about waived and retired players. It's simply to get the basic elements of the keep, waive, and retire to make all the teams happy in the league. That's it today. Kind of a little disappointing to eliminate the Kansas City Royals. Maybe they are still a year or 2 away. I don't know. They need to get better luck, and they need to start playing winning baseball soon. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.